Hello, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 302, and it is March the 11th, 2025. I hope everybody's had a good week. So far, so good, I guess, for me, this being only Tuesday, so plenty of more week to go. So let's jump into what I've been working on, and as you know, I've been going through a bit of a dry spell, not really that interested, I hate to say, in doing different things. So when that happens to me, I do different things and never get anything done. But anyways, one of those different things, and you've already seen this, is the ugly quilt. Yes, I know. I've had several people, well, many people actually say, no, they don't think it's ugly. They love the colors. Yes, that's the first thing you see in this quilt are the colors, because there's a lot of them. And they're bright and they're bold. And yeah, I like the colors too. But I want to explain to you why I call it the ugly quilt, because I have shown this to you a couple of times over the past week, but I haven't really explained why I call it the ugly quilt. So first of all, how did I make this? Well, I went into my little box of orphan blocks. You know, you try different blocks and things on a pattern to see how they're going to work out for you. And I don't like to throw them out afterwards. I just put them in a box, and every now and then, every blue moon, I decide to lay them all out and see what I can do with them. And I've done several quilts actually that I quite like, made in that way. This one, I don't know. As I got working on it, I realized this was going terribly, terribly wrong. But I kept doing it, and I finished it. It's the top. I haven't done any quilting on it yet. But let's talk about the mistakes, shall we? Okay. Well, first of all, it's wonky. Actually, it's not as bad as it looks here. These squares or blocks in the center here down this thing that looks sort of like a table runner. Haha, guess what? That was a table runner. Don't ask me why I didn't finish it. There was something about it I did not like, and I guess I just gave up on it and threw it in the orphan box. Those are actually not wonky. It's the way I took the picture. I'm too lazy to get out my stand. I do have a stand that I can hang quilts from. I've used it in other videos of mine over the time that I've had it. But it has to be assembled, and then you have to hang the quilt up, then you have to take a picture. And yes, it allows me to take better pictures because the quilt, excuse me, hangs square on it or drapes down, so it isn't roly-poly as this one is across that carpet. But there is no other place, suddenly I'm choking up here. There is no other place in my house where I can easily lay out a quilt and take a picture of it. So like I said, I get lazy, I throw it on the carpet and I take a picture of it. So that's one reason why those blocks in the center look a little off kilter. But if you look at this even closer, like let's take a look at some of these squares that are made up of Lemoyne stars. Now, I'm going to see if I can blow this up a little bit more for us. And that's not the way I want it to go. Magic mouse my foot. Okay, I don't know why we're doing that. It's moving all over the place where I don't want to. And oh, there we go. If I just use my mouse properly. Okay, if you take a look at this one. These are Lemoyne stars, as I said. I made them with my AccuQuilt because I got my AccuQuilt this die at one point in time, and I thought, yeah, I really like the Lemoyne star, and I still do, and I thought I'd make a quilt of it, but I thought I'd use up some random bits of fabric for it. Yeah, that wasn't working out, and I really got tired of making Lemoyne stars. I think I made 20 of them, and they took a little longer, even though I was using the AccuQuilt, than I expected. So they got cast off. But you can also see that points, well, this isn't so bad on this one, but I did cut off points with those. Only because, see here on the edge where I put this coping strip, I had to cut these blocks down so they were all the same size as some of the other blocks. basically what I was trying to do is make large blocks, which are 20 inches in size, to actually match this one, because this was the first one I picked out and thought I might make a quilt around it. Um, there's nothing wrong with this block. This block is fine. Um, the problem here was then the other blocks had to be the same size as that. So you put coping strips around it. That's what the black and the grays are. And I tried to get fancy. On this one, I cut it too short. I had to add another piece, and I didn't have a piece that was the same style as this little thin piece of black, so that made it go off. The one down here, just an utter mess. Again, these blocks have their points cut off. Why? Because I had to reduce the size of the block so I could get them the same size as that block I just showed you. And I thought I was being clever. These strips were already pre-cut. They were leftovers from a project. They were in the box, the orphan box, and I just thought they'd work out on here. Not completely. I still had to add coping strips, but the coping strips are so thin. And I don't know about you, but when I work with something that thin, it is going to go wonky on me. So yeah, over here, you can really see where I cut off some of the points on some of these Lemoyne stars. And this block's just a mess. Points are cut off. It's, a mismatch of, this was an experimental block I was trying out here, I think, at the time. That's why it was in the orphan block box, because it's ugly. Again, I ran out of, well, I don't know why I did this. I put this sashing piece, which is like this border over here with the sashing piece, and yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. This was an experiment from another die that I bought for AccuQuilt called the Cleopatra Fan, I believe. And yeah, it's just ugly, ugly. So, of course, I got it all sewn together and decided, it might be ugly, but I can save it by putting a lovely border on it. And so I looked in my scraps, and I had, of course, this blue batik, which I really like. And I think it really adds to the quilt, but it's still ugly. So I'm sorry, it is an ugly quilt. So am I going to quilt it? Maybe. I'm thinking, okay, this at least would be a great quilt to test out and try doing custom quilting using the computer system on my Lucy. There's lots of blocks here where I can do different designs in it, and I may do that. I mean, it can't make it any worse, but this is one time where the expression "it'll quilt out" is not going to really apply. It's not going to work. Then what will I do after that when it's quilted? Well, I've thought of several things. I'm thinking, I could cut it up and make it into a bag. It would be a wild bag, wouldn't it? And I might do that. Or it could become a dog blanket or a cat blanket. Yeah. Or I just leave it and drape it over a piece of furniture or something and call it a day. I don't know. So anyways, there's the saga of my ugly quilt. The one thing though it did make me it did do for me, it got me a little bit back into my sojo again. I'm still not completely there, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the things happening in the world. My mind is in other spots. I don't know. I need a vacation. Yeah, I do. And we're going on one, but not until May. So yeah, hang in there. All right, so that's enough about the ugly quilt. What else have I been working on? Well, this little guy, he was a palette cleanser, but I thought he was really sweet. He is a design by Creative Kiwi. I'm not sure if I put the link to him in the show notes below, but I'll make a note to myself to do so. So it will be there by the time you see this. Note to self, note, Creative Kiwi link. Okay, see if that makes any sense to me. But you know that I been making these gnomes for the various events that happen throughout the year. I have a St. Patrick's Day gnome, I have a Valentine's Day gnome, and now I have an Easter gnome. So my goal is to have a gnome for each of the major events during the calendar year. We'll see. I guess the next major event is probably, because all of these companies, not Creative Kiwi, but they're all very American focused on the holidays. We'll probably have an Independence Day one, but that's right next to our July the 1st day, which is Canada Day. So if they come out with a Canada Day one, which I doubt that they will, I have never seen one yet, I'll do it. If they come out with one that is more geared to Independence Day for the Americans, then I might be able to do it depending on what it's showing on it, and just change the colors to Canadian colors. Although I suspect that they'll put an American flag on it, and, well, maybe I can overlay, applique a Canadian flag if they do that, depending. I don't know. We will see what happens with all of that. Oh, don't want to show you that picture yet. Okay, so that's what I've been working on. I'm working on some other things too, but you'll find out about them later. And I'm sure most of you will be asking about the Barn Star sampler blocks. Well, if you look over my shoulder, there's blocks number 8 and number 9 done. There are 20 bloody blocks. Ugh, this is becoming an endurance test, I am telling you. But I press on with it, but I'm not enjoying the process. I really am not. Don't know why. I think it's going to look spectacular when it's done, but I guess that's the whole point. When will it be done? I don't know. I really don't know. So anyways, enough about that. You hear me gripe about that every week. So moving on, Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen this Wednesday coming. We'll be without Stephanie because she's on a cruise. Yep. But I'll be here. Don't know if that's a consolation or not. But yep, the link for that is in the show notes below. We had a pop-up sew day on Saturday. We had about 22 people there at the height of it. That was really fun. It always is. We learned a lot from each other. We saw what everybody was making, and we just had general chit-chat, and it was drama-free, which was really cool. So yeah, when will the next pop-up sew day be? No idea. I am thinking probably closer to the end of March, and we shall see, so stay tuned. I will make an announcement about that before it happens. Did buy some batting from Kawartha Quilting because Walter got thinking, oh God, with this whole tariff thing, the price of batting, because it is Kawartha Quilting, where I get my batting from, deals with a company in the States for it, Hobbs Batting. So the logic is there that with the tariffs that were counter tariffs that we're putting on American products, then that could go up in price. So I went online. I was low. I have one roll of batting left. I haven't opened it yet, but I have a couple of quilts hanging out in the Lucy room that need to be quilted besides the ugly one. So yeah, Walter always has a way of enabling me. And it's usually, a practical enabling, if there is such a thing. He said, well, maybe you should buy some now. So I jokingly said to him, and how many rolls would you suggest? He said, well, at least 2. Well, I was sort of thinking that myself, too. I would have liked to have gotten more, but, 2 rolls of batting at Kawartha Quilting, and they have the best prices around for us in our area. So it was about, with tax and that, almost a little over $600. I think it came out to about $638. Mind you, that's 120 inch by 30 yards each roll of the batting. So that was okay. I mean, so I've got batting now. That's done. But while we were there, we were well, I'll come back to what I was going to say about this because it's part of the title of today about, quilting and tariffs. How is that affecting us? We'll come back to that though. I did make an order and to Quiltatious. Quiltatious is a quilt company that a quilt store out in Windsor, Ontario, and I have dealt with them before. They have beautiful fabrics. They have a nice selection of fabrics. Prices are reasonable as well. I did review them some time ago, and I gave them a high rating because they are very good, and their customer service is excellent as well. So I placed an order with them because I am going to make another quilt of Valour quilt, and I was low on my O Canada supply of fabric. So as you can see here in the picture, this is what I got from them. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fabrics, 2 meters each, so 10 meters of fabric there, and I got a fat quarter bundle, which was a pretty good price of, I think there are 10 fat quarters in that, and 10 might not be 10, might be more like 8, but it was a good price too. So when the box arrived, I got a couple of freebies they threw in. One is this pattern you see down here, my sewing box quilt, and it's spools and things, and it looks like a lot of fun to do. So that's on my list of future projects. And they threw in, now at first I thought it was a point turner, but there's a little piece of that black thing on the end of it. That's a little piece of styrofoam or spongy stuff, because it is a seam ripper and also serves as a short little ruler too. So I thought that was kind of nice that I got a pattern in that as well. So I wrote to them, telling them, thanking them for the little gifts, and said, you know, in my email, I said, it's the little things like that that makes people come back, because it shows that you care. And it's just a very kind little gesture to do, but it means a lot. And I thanked them for their great service, and told them that I would definitely be a repeat customer. Now, as I said, I have ordered from them before, but I've only ordered from them, I think, once online. And one time I discovered them at a quilt show I was at. And so I was talking to them for a few minutes about, you know, their business and everything like that. And of course, they are a Canadian quilt company. So, you know, hello, Canadians. If you want to support Canadian, go there. That doesn't mean all their fabrics come from Canada, because, you know, that's almost impossible. But many of the fabrics that we have are made in Europe and Asia anyway. So, and those fabrics you see there, they're all Canadian because they're all by Northcott, which is a Canadian company. So anyways, I wrote this little note to them, and they sent me back one themselves, which I'm going to read to you. Hello, Stephen. Thank you for your email, and thank you very much for your order. We greatly appreciate your business. Yes, of course, we remember. We met at the quilt show in Ajax, and we had a really nice chat. Then you gave us a glowing review. Thank you for that. I did not want to assume it was you who ordered from us. Therefore, the welcome note on the box. There was a little, on the outside of the package, there was this little thank you note on it, which I thought was very nice, but a little different, because usually those things are inside the box. But hey, that was kind of cute. And you're very welcome for the small gift. We try to make our customers feel special. Thank you again for your kind words, and we are looking forward to seeing you at the Quilt Show in Oakville and Quilt Canada in Toronto. We are super excited making our kits and bundles. So yeah, there is a quilt show, and I looked it up, in a town called Oakville, which is west of Toronto, not all that far away from us, probably an hour's drive or so, a little bit more than that, depending on the traffic. But that's coming up sometime in April, and it's by the the guild that's in Oakville. I don't know if we'll get to it, but we are definitely planning to go to Quilt Canada. So yeah, I'll be looking for them when I'm there. So that's Quiltatious. Check them out if you've never checked them out. And I'll try to put I don't think I did, but I will do that. Quiltatious. I'll put a link in the show notes for that as well. Just made a note of that for myself. So another email. Now, okay, the tariff business. I'm not trying to be political here because this is where I talk about quilts. I get political on the vlog and on Stephen and Walter Live, as you well know. But we're all wondering how the tariffs that both the Americans are placing, and more so our tariffs, the Canadian tariffs, because we're putting tariffs on American-made goods, okay? Which means that when a quilt store here orders from the States, they're going to have to pay an extra, whatever the percentage will be, for those goods before they put them out for the rest of us to buy. That, of course, translates into an increase in price for anything that we may buy from a quilt store here in our own in Canada. Okay, that's the basics of tariffs and how they work. So I asked Eric. Eric is the owner of Kawartha Quilting, about the batting. Said, well, we thought we'd stock up before the tariffs get to you. And he said, well, we're not really affected by that. And I said, well, how so? And he says, and this is his answer. And he was being funny, but it's also truthful. He said, oops, I should put this back up here. He said, do you see any cotton fields here? That's true. Batting is made from cotton, or cotton and polyester, depending on what. Of course, there's wool and bamboo. I know that as well. But the kind I buy is 80-20, 80% cotton, 20% polyester. Okay, so there's cotton in it. We can't grow cotton in Canada. It comes from the southern United States. So I said, okay, so how does that affect? He says, well, we don't have to pay it. As far as he knew at that point in time, the tariffs would not affect at least batting. I still don't know about that. The list of things that are going to be tariffed and are being tariffed by our Canadian government do not specifically say batting, nor do they say quilting cotton, but they do say clothing and apparel and stuff like that. And that might be a catch-all for all of this. Time will tell. We don't know for sure. So that's interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to affect us as quilters when we're buying our quilting cotton. Now, we are going to try, but it's going to be very difficult to not buy American-made fabrics. However, many of the fabrics that we use in quilting, much of the quilting cotton comes from Asia and like Eastern Europe, that kind of stuff around in there. It isn't exclusively made, most of it. I don't know if there may be some, like there might be, maybe cherry wood because they dye their own. I don't know. See, this is the gray area. We don't know. It doesn't come strictly from the States. Now, there's companies in the States, though, that quilting stores buy from, so I don't know. Will tariffs affect that? This is definitely a gray area here. We do not know until it happens. So I guess we just sit and wait. But in the meantime, I got an email from a Canadian company called Red Maple Leaf Quilts, and they talked about the tariffs and how it's going to affect them. And I want to read that to you because it's got some very good information in it, and I need to get it. Okay, so this is the email that I got from the Maple Leaf Quilting Company, and it says this. As the threat of tariffs becomes real, it's important to keep in mind a couple of items regarding these tariffs. Firstly, U.S. tariffs affect Canadian-made items being shipped into the U.S. and are paid by U.S. companies importing these Canadian-made goods. Our issue is with the Canadian-imposed tariffs on American-made goods being imported by us into Canada. Popular items such as batting, some threads, some notions, and other products that are made in the USA will be affected. If not right away, then soon. We expect this and will conduct our business accordingly. We support the Canadian government and all Canadian businesses during this trying time and will continue to source locally and within Canada when we can. Now, we were talking about batting a moment ago, and they're saying that if the batting is made in the USA, it will be affected by Canadian tariffs. This is something that Eric at Kawartha Quilting, I don't think, understood. It is important to note that most fabrics are manufactured in Eastern Europe and Asia. As such, Canadian tariffs would not be charged on these. However, those products made in China, such as some fabrics, AccuQuilt machines, and many notions, would be charged a tariff when imported to the U.S. Sewing machines on the whole would not be affected as they enter Canada through Western ports, directly from the originating country. Some Husqvarna Viking machines and Gnome long arms will enter through land ports and may be subject to tariffs at some point. Parts for sewing machines may be affected as well as accessories. Many businesses like ours have tried to account for tariffs by stocking up early on products we feel would see an increase later. The duration of the trade war will determine if this was the correct approach. We will continue to hold our pricing for as long as we can. We have canceled orders that have not yet shipped and held off from placing new orders for the short term. Customer special orders will not be affected. As we proceed, we are determining if some products can be sourced from outside the U.S. in hopes it leads to a price benefit. As such, lead time for new and restocked items may be extended while we source these. We will continue to monitor our Canadian supply chain for pricing fluctuations and support our valuable Canadian partners going forward. We will be moving away from certain companies as we resupply. One such company is Uline. They have in the past supplied our boxes, packing materials, and other items. As a company, Uline and its owners have supported candidates politically and monetarily promoting the tariffs, as well as far-right agenda limiting basic human rights. I didn't know that. I have ordered some boxes from Uline as well. Not happening now. Even though we are a small business with not a lot of spending power as one, if all businesses in Canada were to make this statement, it would go a long way to supporting Canadian businesses in the same market space and making an economic impact during this USA-imposed trade war. In closing, Maple Leaf Quilting Company Limited is a small family-run operation that employs 6 people. We are based out of Cochrane, Alberta. We will do what we can to support our sisters and brothers locally and across the country. If our prices have to change to accommodate this mandate, we are truly sorry. Please understand we do not take this lightly. We endeavor to stay in business, help quilters, and supply quality products at fair prices. Sincerely, Andrew and Tracy Bentley, owners, Maple Leaf Quilting Company Limited. So, there you have it. I thought that was an excellent email. It really put everything in perspective in a very understandable manner. So you know what I know now about all of this. So yes, we are going to be affected. I think we all figured that. And when I say we, I mean Canadians. Okay. This part, the quilting industry, is not, with tariffs from our end of things, is not going to affect Americans as greatly, except that, as I said in here, quilting stores are being encouraged to look for other sources outside of the United States for quilting supplies. That will affect the larger companies out there. Like, I think a lot of quilting stores get their products from Checkers. And Checkers is an American-based company. So, yeah. In reality, do I think it is going to have a major effect on this whole tariff war that's going on? Not with quilting stores. I don't think so. The industry is a niche. It isn't a huge, huge industry. Yes, there are many, many, many quilting stores. But I think the effects of the tariffs are going to be seen more on an individual store basis than as an industry as a whole, in how it will, be used as retaliation. So time will tell. But I know for me, what I'm going to do is I will not be ordering anything online from any quilt store that is located in the United States. And I will do my research to see if I can find out on fabrics that I am buying, the brand names and that, where they source their fabrics from and their other accessories, rulers, etc. And I will definitely give it my best effort to support Canadian suppliers of all of these things. And I encourage all of my Canadian subscribers to do the same thing. It might be a little thing, as I've already alluded to, but it's something. It is something. And during this time period, we need to do something. Okay, so that's the end of the political discussion right now, but I want to bring it up for quilters because it will affect us to a certain extent. Okay, so let's move on to Sew Chatty. Well, in the past week, we did the part 4 of working on her bag, and it was a bit of a comedy of errors, as you saw with my bag. Didn't quite turn out the way it was supposed to, because I did something stupid. Well, I just every now and then like to reinforce the fact that the name of my channel is the Idiot Quilter, and that's why I'm an idiot. Okay? But I have redeemed myself for this week's So Chatty. You will see how I corrected my problem and the final product with the bag. In the meantime, you're also going to see whatever Walter has created. He's a little bit behind, yeah, in the bag making. But I'm hoping that by the time we go to record So Chatty, Walter will be all ready to show you his version. And I can guarantee you that he didn't make the same mistakes that I did. So that's this week on So Chatty. Okay. And of course, on this week will be the last part of the series. We're finishing the whole bag up. Okay. That takes me to Subscribers Quilt of the Week, and this comes from Sue McKeon. And we have seen some of her lovely creations before, and here's another one. This week's quilt from a subscriber comes from Sue McKeon, and she writes about this particular table runner. This table runner is from a kit included in the fabric hut. It has been gifted to a friend who loves gnomes, and I love gnomes too, as everybody knows, and I'm loving this particular pattern as well. It looks absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure this person loved it. Now, of course, we're not in the Christmas season right now, but let's just pretend it's Christmas in March. And thank you for sharing this with me, or with us, Sue, because it is really, really fun and it is really lovely. And I'm just looking at the noses of the quilts, of the gnomes, and I'm trying to determine whether or not that's appliqued. I think it is. The noses. You've done a stitch all the way around them that makes them stand out a little better. And I am assuming that this is all pieced as well. Or is it applique? Actually, I think it's applique. She did not say in her note about this, but I think the gnomes might be, and the trees, applique. Yeah. Well, either way, this is really, really cute, and I love it. Thanks, Sue, for sharing it. So this week's YouTube video comes from someone I'm sure most people are familiar with, all the way from England, and that is Adam of Adam Sews. Adam recently, he and his husband made a trip to the United States, and they went to Quiltcon in Phoenix. And so he has put up a video about their adventures, and it's a little bit more than the quilt show. He's also showing some of the sights that he saw while he was in that area of the U.S. This week's video clip from YouTube comes from Adam of Adam Sews. I'm sure you're very much familiar with Adam. If you're not, where have you been? There's a link to his YouTube channel actually in the show notes below. But this particular video, Adam, as you know, lives in England, and he traveled across with his husband to attend the Quiltcon show in Phoenix. And this is his video talking about their adventures to the States. And I think it might have been one of his first trips to the States as well. Could be wrong about that, but I think it might be. But anyways, this is a delightful video that shows you who he saw at the Quiltcon, not really a lot of shots of quilts, but shots of him and a lot of people you probably know from YouTube as well, and also what else they saw while they were in Phoenix, including getting on a self-driving car as well, which I think is kind of exciting. So anyways, if you want to see what fun Adam had at QuiltCon, then check out his video, Quiltcon Pheonix 2025 and Our Adventures. So I mentioned earlier in my haul of O Canada fabrics that I purchased last week because I have a pattern that I want to make as a Quilt of Valour. And this actually is an official pattern from the Canadian Quilts of Valour group, and it's called From Across the Nation. And here's what I'm talking about. This week's Future Quilt is going to be one for a Quilt of Valour donation, and it's called From Across the Nation, a 10th anniversary Hug Blocks quilt. This particular quilt was designed for the 10th anniversary of the Canadian branch of the Quilts of Valour, and it's really a sampler, and I liked it, so I ordered it. Now the problem is I don't have enough of the fabrics that they actually use in it, but that's okay. I've ordered some online and they're supposed to come very soon. And from there I will decide exactly which fabrics I'll use in each block. This may take a while because there looks like there are 6 blocks that go into this and you have to make them multiple times, but they don't look like they're too complex. This is a great way to support, if you're Canadian, the Quilts of Valour program here in Canada. The pattern is very reasonably priced, $12.50 Canadian, and it's free shipping. It is a hard copy. It isn't in PDF format. So if you want to get your hands on it, just go to quiltsofvalour.ca, and I'll have the link in the show notes below, and you can help support a worthy cause. So this will be my next Quilts of Valour quilt, as I said, that I'll be making and donating sometime later this year. So, as I said at the beginning of today's episode, I have sort of temporarily lost my sojo. At least I hope it's temporary. But I'm looking for things to do. So I've been puttering with this, that, and the other thing. And, well, here's what I've been working on this week, or this past week. So what have I been working on this week? So I'm taking you in here to the Lucy room, where my long arm is. And hanging up here are some things I should be working on. There's about 3 quilt tops that need to be quilted. I don't know if I'll get any of these on Lucy this week. I already showed you the ugly quilt a little bit earlier, and that's it hanging right up there right now. I want to practice some custom quilting, setting Lucy up to do that kind of thing. And also there's a few things here in the Lucy room I thought I'd show you. This is a big bag of 3D printer poop. Yeah, it produces a lot of waste, which I did not know when I bought it. This is a basket of dragon eggs, and I made 12 of these on the bamboo printer. And inside there's a little tiny articulated little dragon guy. And my idea here is, if I'm over at my sister's for Easter dinner, I will put one of these at each one of the place settings on the table, and I'm going to fill them with maybe some M&Ms or something like that as well. It's a little dragon, and everybody gets one. Just a fun little thing. I like to do that. That's just the way I am. On the shelves in here, I don't know if I've ever shown you this or not. These are all seasonal prints and decorations that I use at Halloween, a few Christmas things, Thanksgiving, Halloween, some things boxed up there. These are extra little prints for Easter and things like that, and some things that I've been making for, you know, when I do my guild talks. I've got my boxes packed up for that. Made a whole bunch of these a while ago with another purpose in mind. I don't know what I'm going to do with them now, but I'll find something, I am sure. And yeah, just miscellaneous stuff out here. Oh, by the way, if you're interested, there's 2 more 3D printers. These are older ones. One is my very first one. Actually, those 2 are my first one and my second one. They still work, but I don't use them anymore since I've advanced, as you know. So yeah, and so this is the Lucy room. But let's go back into the sewing room. Little tour here. And of course, there's the printers. They're silent right now. I'm between projects. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. And my little Gnome collection of hanging things is coming along. You saw this last week. And let's scan over here. Oh, yes. Yes, I am still working on the Barn Star Sampler. And that's a project that's going forever. So those are another couple of blocks. I think that is block number 9, I believe. Working on it. Is it block number 9? Let me just see. No, that's block number 8. I've got block number 9 down here. I started working on during the pop-up sew day. I have another little project that I want to try. As you know, Walter and I have been doing Sew Chatty, and we've been doing a series on bag making. Well, this one caught my attention. It is a lady's clutch. I mean, I don't really want a lady's clutch, but this one I can use some of that faux leather I bought, and so I'm really curious to try that out. Plus it's in steampunk, and I have an affinity to steampunk as well. Of course, the project table over here is not getting any less full. If anything, it's got a few extra things sitting on it. Big basket in the back is full of O Canada fabric for my next Quilt of Valour quilt. Yeah, I got to get to that. So lots of projects, lots of things to do. And did I achieve much this week? Well, yes and no. I mean, I did get the bag done for our next chapter of Sew Chatty, our next episode on that. And I continue to work on the Barn Star Sampler, which I call the Quilt from Hell number 2, because I had a quilt from hell earlier. Now, I have something coming up that I haven't done in quite a while. I have arranged to do an interview with a quilter. This is someone who is new to me, and he is reasonably, yes, it is a he is reasonably new to quilting world as well, has a YouTube channel. That's all I'm going to tell you for now, because I haven't done the interview yet. I have made arrangements to do that interview later this week, and if all goes well, that interview will be posted next Tuesday. So you'll find out all about it then. But just stay tuned. I haven't done one of these interviews in a while. I'm a little rusty. But yeah, I've got one lined up. And as I said, if all goes well, you'll see it next week. Okay, so that takes me to online quilt stores. And this one is, oh, and by the way, too, and you've heard me say this before, all of the quilt stores that I have ever reviewed on here over the last 3 years or so, when I started reviewing quilt stores, they're all Canadian. So you may want to go back and take a look. And I am playing with the idea of actually posting a list of these stores somewhere where you can get your hand on it. In fact, what I'll do is, I need to add another thing to my links. I will put a link in the show notes for all of the quilt stores I have reviewed since I started reviewing them. They won't, unfortunately, have links. You'll have to just plug in the name of the quilt store into your browser, and you'll find it that way. But I will post that up. I'll probably make it a link. I doubt that I can get it all into the show notes. I'll see what I can do. It'll be either in the show notes, or it will be a link to my drive, to my Google Drive, where you can download it. I'll make it a PDF file in that case. Okay, so yeah, note to self, list of quilt stores. And these are Canadian quilt stores, so I imagine this will be of more appeal to my Canadian subscribers than my American subscribers. This is just a quick note from editing me. I mentioned that I would post a list of all the quilt stores that I have reviewed in the last couple of years here on the Idiot Quilter. Well, I thought it better if I gave you a link to this very extensive list broken down by provinces. This list was compiled by Danielle Richard from Chloe's Quilting Cafe out in the East Coast, and she compiled this around February the 9th, 2025, and I think she intends to update it in a year's time. It's very extensive, and it's where I get my list now of quilt stores that I want to review. So I have put this in the show notes, and it will always be there from now until it gets updated again. And it is a link to my Google Drive, and you can download it. It is in PDF format, and you'll find it very extensive. There are 14 pages there. So there's lots of quilt stores in Canada. So I wanted to mention that to you. So the Canadian quilt store that I'm reviewing today is called Here, not far from me. In fact, I used to get their subscription box because there's not many Canadian quilt stores that have subscription boxes at one time. And I think I talk about that in this video review. And it's called Owl Be Sewing, like the bird. Owl Be Sewing. This week's online quilt store is a little shop that's located in Brampton, Ontario called Owl Be Sewing. And this is one I believe that I think I may have gotten some done one of their monthly clubs some time ago. Not sure. Don't remember correctly, but let's check on their online store. So this is their front page, and they have some notions. They have some of their featured fabrics. They have a free block, sewing machine maintenance class. Oh, these are blogs, actually. Clearance. Okay, and they have a newsletter as well. All right, so let's check out their fabric. Okay, so they have a filter on the left side with price, product type, brand, fabric, theme, major colors, minor colors. Interesting, major colors and minor colors. I've never seen that as a setup. Let's drop down to product type. They just have fabric. 863 selections of fabric. Let's check brand. Okay, so basically they don't break down the fabric. It's all 863, so if you want to see the whole bit, you go there. If you want to see it by brand, you can go here. And they offer quite a few. Some of them only have like one selection, but others are a little bit more full. Northcott, let's check out Northcott, Canadian company. And let's see, they have wide back. Looks like wide back is mixed in with their regular fabrics as well. $24.96 a meter for Northcott shimmer wide backing. That's a good price. That's a very good price. We'll check out more about wide backing in a moment, but let's take a look at what else they're offering here. Okay, prices seem to fluctuate as low as $5.96 per meter. Wow, that must be on sale. Yeah, they have several on sale. $8.96 a meter. That's really cheap, really cheap. But their regular price seems to be $17.96. $14.96. So it looks like it ranges from about $15 a meter up to about $18 a meter, which is really good. That's really good price. Yeah, there's $18.52. Okay, so the prices look really good, at least on Northcott. Let's see if they change if you go to another brand. $10.76, $14.96, $15.96. This is all by the meter. $19.99. Okay, so it looks like their prices, for the most part, are really quite good. I should be ordering from them, I think. Selection doesn't seem to be too bad. Let's try Timeless Treasures. I love Timeless Treasures. Oh, interesting. Why am I getting Northcott? No, because I've got that clicked on. Okay, click that off. Here we go. Okay. some interesting fabrics here. As it said, there's 800 and some odd, 800 plus fabrics to choose from. So I think there's something here that you'd be able to find. So a good selection, good price. I'm impressed. Okay, then they have up here though, they have another one, fabric by color, fabric by theme. Let's check out seasonal. It's got some summer things, campers, some Halloween, a little bit of Christmas. Yeah, that's not a bad selection at all. Okay, they have something called Stash Builder. Yes, I did join this back a year ago or so. I was getting their boxes, their fat quarter boxes regularly, and I stopped it because I was just getting too many fat quarters that I couldn't keep up with it. They curate what you want, although I found that sometimes they varied from what I said I didn't want and I would get. But generally speaking, I was fine with their selections. The only reason I stopped getting it was because, as I said, I was piling up fat quarters and I didn't know what to do with them, and so I stopped it. And the price isn't bad, and you have a choice here between 5, 10, and 15 fat quarters, and you can get half yard packages as well, 5, 3, and 7. And there's the prices, and I don't think the prices are too bad. And this is where you can curate what you want. Colors, things you never send me. They didn't always stick to that, I found. But generally speaking, I was not disappointed in what I got. It was just that I had way too many fat quarters. So that is an option there. And we don't have a lot of stores in Canada that offer a club like this. In the States, yes, there's tons of them, but here in Canada, not so many. Thread of the month. So they have a thread of the month club. It looks like it might be, it's Quiltec. Quiltec makes Glide, so it's the same thing. I don't think I'd be joining that either because I have lots of thread. Yeah, Glide. And Glide is a great thread. It's what I use when I quilt on my long arm. I love their threads, but as I said, for me, every month, well, no. Now, can you buy just thread from them? They have a monthly project box as well. This site seems to be really geared towards kits and subscription programs. Notions better. Here we go, thread. Yes, $6.99. That's about the going price for what I pay for Glide in other stores, so that's good. And they also have Gutermann, and that price seems to be about the average price for that size. And yeah, good selection of colors in their threads, and both are very high quality threads. What else do we have? We have zipper batting. Let's check their batting. They have Pellon fusible fleece, Bosel. Okay, so some of these are interfacing. Okay, Sewers Club 80/20 blend batting, 96 inches wide, $14.96 a meter. That's not a bad price either. They have 120 white, 100% white cotton batting, $21.80 a meter. And then they have tender touch batting, 45 inches wide. Okay, so not a huge selection of batting, but I think there's enough there to choose from for the average person. And they have lots of interfacing and stabilizers as well. It doesn't look like they sell the batting as a big roll. It's all done by the meter. Okay, but not a bad price. And that one's sold out. Well, okay. So much for that. What else can we take a look at? They have kits. And they've got a lot of bag kits. A lot of bag kits. Table runner. Not seeing any quilt kits though. No, don't seem to offer any quilt kits. Okay. Now, one thing I got thinking about here, I didn't notice any pre-cuts. I wonder if I do a search and see what they have pre-cuts. Nope, just some pattern books, some notions, but nothing. Price, product type, books, notions, patterns. Nope. Go back here to fabric and see. Product type. No. It doesn't look like they offer pre-cuts, although they have kits. So maybe that's why they don't offer pre-cuts, because they offer fat quarter bundles as monthly club selections. Okay, and patterns. Yeah, bag patterns, lots of bag patterns. Back, lots and lots of bag patterns. Do they have quilt patterns? Let's just jump ahead. Yeah, they do. So, yeah, if you want a bag pattern, though, they seem to have a really good selection of that. All right, let's see. Other ways to shop. Clearance, new arrivals. Oh, this is where pre-cuts. Okay, they do have pre-cuts. There we go. Don't have a big selection, though. Okay. And monthly project videos. So there's a project video and it shows you how to put it together. Okay, well that's a good feature. I like that. They have a blog. Their hours, they are a brick and mortar store as well. I've never been to it. And they have a long arm service as well. So actually Sewers Club, well, it's called I'll Be Sewing. But reasonable prices, I think. Good selection of fabrics. Possibly a little heavy on the idea of the Sewers Club, the monthly subscription boxes. Good choice in glide thread. So overall, I am fairly impressed. If I'm ever in Brampton, I will definitely drop in on their store to see what they have there too. So I think I'm going to give them about an 8 out of 10. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this episode. Just some reminders, a long distance reminder, but you know how time flies, so it's maybe not that far into the future. But the Idiot Quilter Spring Retreat for 2025 will be held on Saturday, April 26th. Details, full details about all of that, how you register, what's expected, what's going to happen, all that good stuff will be put out in the first week of April, so in a few weeks' time. So stay tuned. Okay, I hope you have a great week. In spite of what's happening in our world these days, there's an awful lot to worry about. I know I've been very worried. I think that's been affecting my sojo, all of this as well. And we got to get a grip. We got to go on with life, do the best we can, and sew, because that is our happy place. Let's go there. Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.